A warm welcome to all the viewers. In today's session of Tourism and Hospitality Research, I will be discussing about redundancy analysis in SmartPLS. What is redundancy analysis? How it is done? And how can we interpret the results of redundancy analysis? Let us check it out. Unlike the reflective constructs where indicators are assumed to be caused by the construct, formative constructs are defined by their indicators, meaning the indicators are seen as causing the construct. Because in formative construct, all the indicators convey different meaning, but in reflective construct, the indicators convey the same meaning. A same thing is asked multiple times in different ways. That is a reflective construct. If you want, you can go back to the playlist and check my video on the difference between reflective and formative constructs. Global single item lends simplicity, brevity, less effort, reduced cognitive demand, increased response rate, and reduced suspicious response pattern. Straightforward and flexible adjustment to new research situation and context. Now, in case we have a reflective construct, then we check the convergent validity, which means how well the indicators come together to define the latent variable, define the meaning of the latent variable. But in case of a formative construct, as I told you before, all the indicators convey different meaning. So they cannot be assessed just by convergent validity. There is no meaning to conduct convergent validity of such indicators because they all are different in their nature. In that case, we assess their validity through global single item, wherein we ask the respondent to mark upon a single item measured on the same scale on which the other indicators were measured. But this overall single item, which assesses the latent variable's meaning, is now used to assess the redundancy of the construct, redundancy of the indicators which form the formative construct. You will understand it better once I show you the practical example. In this, we take a single global item to measure the overall aspect of the latent variable. This should be reflective indicator, and you can also take multiple item construct. But it has been advised that a single global item gives much better results when the sample size is large. Take formative construct as IV and global single item or multiple item construct as DV. Then you run the simple PLS algorithm and check on the path coefficient or the correlation coefficient, which should be at least 0.7. And through the bootstrapping procedure, we check its significant level. It has to be below 0.05. That means it is significant. And the R square value should be at least 0.50. Hinkin 1998 described the process to develop single global item. Through extensive literature review, you can develop a single global item. And this global single item is not only sufficient in terms of an in-sample convergent validity, but is also better than multi-item measure in terms of out-of-sample prediction. So let us see how it is actually done. These are some of the useful resources which you must refer to for learning more about redundancy analysis and PLS SEM analysis. Now, how to do this redundancy analysis? Let us go to File, Create New Project. I name this project as Redundancy Analysis just to show you an example on redundancy analysis, and I click OK. Now, double click to import data, and on the desktop I have that data redundancy analysis.csv. I click on open and click on OK. Now I have imported the data. Let us construct the model. So I'll click on redundancy analysis and now I can draw the model on this canvas. So in this model, I assume we have cultural authenticity depicted by three formative indicators CA1, CA2, CA3, and we have an overall global single item which is authentic cultural experience, which assesses the overall assessment of authentic cultural experience by the tourist. So let us form the model. I click on CA1, press shift and then click on CA3 and take this latent variable of cultural authenticity. Rename this as CA like this, and these indicators are formative. So in case they are formative, I need to turn the indicators, switch between formative and reflective. Now they are formative in nature. This is the independent latent variable CA, and the dependent variable is BI, that is behavioral intention. I click on BI1 and then BI3. I take this to the canvas. I shift the indicators to the right like this and rename it as BI, behavioral intention. Now I take my global single item, authentic cultural experience, ACE, on the canvas like this. I rename it as global item like this. Now I need to connect this as a reflective indicator of my cultural authenticity. Now you see here, the base indicators of measuring the cultural authenticity are formative in nature, but the global item which assesses the overall cultural authenticity is a reflective indicator for cultural authenticity. And now we connect cultural authenticity with behavioral intention like this. So now the model turns blue, that means it is ready to be executed. So the guidelines say that the path coefficient or the correlation between cultural authenticity and my global item has to be at least 0.7 and the R square has to be at least 0.50. So let us check it out. I go to calculate. Simply straight away you can go to bootstrapping and I can do it with 500 just to show you an example, and we stay on basic bootstrapping and start calculation. So now we got the results. I click on path coefficients and you see here cultural authenticity to global item. The path coefficient is 0.827. It is higher than 0.7. If it is greater than 0.8, it is deemed to be very good and the p-value is significant. It is lesser than 0.05, hence it is significant. I can check the same thing in the model as well. You see here in the inner model, I'll click on path coefficients and p-values and I get 0.827. That is the correlation. It is greater than 0.7 and it is significant. So that justifies the convergent validity or the redundancy analysis of my latent variable, which was measured through three formative indicators CA1, CA2 and CA3, and I can report it that I checked the convergent validity of cultural authenticity, which was my formative latent variable, a formative construct through global single item, wherein I got the correlation greater than 0.7 and put in the reference of Hinkin and justify my results and go forward with the data analysis. I hope the video was quite useful and informative for you, and you will definitely share it with your friends and faculty colleagues. Thanks for watching. Keep learning and keep watching for more.